Your marriage might be over if all of a sudden your spouse starts changing things. Here's what I mean. If your husband has been a meat and potatoes guy for the duration of your marriage, and all of a sudden he's ordering a kale salad, what's that about? If he starts listening to new music, like all of a sudden he's into Sabrina Carpenter when he's been a Garth Brooks kind of guy, your marriage might be on its way out. If he's been a couch potato playing video games and all of a sudden he's talking about all the six-pack he's gonna get at the gym and he's up at 5 a.m. every day. Look, all of those could be signs of just getting your life together and being more healthy, or getting a new taste in music because you heard the latest Spotify playlist. Or it could be signs of something else going on internally. These subtle shifts, this new access to other information coming out in a way that you can see. So like, maybe they're talking to some new gal and she's all about healthy living. She wants him to be handsome or whatever. So he starts going to the gym and ordering a kale salad. They don't necessarily mean it, but if a lot of that sort of stuff starts happening at once, your little antenna should be up and see if maybe the marriage is on the way out. Because generally speaking, people are pretty consistent, right? They're gonna keep doing what they've been doing in the past in the future. So if things change and they're not really the sort of like self-improvement, self-help sort of person, you just can ask yourself like, why all of a sudden are you becoming this gym dude? Is there some gal up at the gym you're interested in seeing? It doesn't have to go together, but it might. In line with that, another way you might know that your marriage is over is if you have that still small voice inside, that gut instinct that something's going on. It very well may be. Look, I think so much of life, we try to silence that voice inside. We try to not listen to it, tell it why it's crazy and all of that. And like, look, you may be overreacting and being super needy and crazy about it. Okay, I don't know you. That could be one thing. It could be another thing that your heart and your gut are trying to tell you something. So if you're having that feeling like maybe they've moved on, maybe they've checked out of the marriage, maybe they don't want to do this anymore, maybe there's somebody else, you probably owe it to yourself and to your future and to your kids to investigate that a little further. And I don't mean like go all Dateline on the situation and hire PIs and all of that, but maybe have a really frank, candid and kind conversation with the person you're married to and just say, look, here's some ways that I'm feeling. Here's some things that I'm seeing. Can you help speak to that to me? Like, is something going on? And maybe they're like, oh no, gosh, I'm so sorry. It's work and I've been distracted or whatever. And that may be the truth. Or you may open up an avenue of conversation for them to say, you know, I haven't really been very happy. And it may not feel great to hear that. Look, I understand. But we can't ask for the truth and then be mad at it. So you can take that truth and at least you can do something about it, or try to do something about it, or for the love of Pete, at least have it out there in the open and live a true life. But you can take that opportunity to follow your gut and try to have healthy conversations that adults and healthy, mature relationships have. And maybe it means the marriage is over, but at least then I guess you would know and can try to do something and co-create that together when it's still just in a healthy, communicative point versus, scorched earth. Somebody's walking out the door with their suitcase. So one question you may ask yourself, is this overthinking and anxiety, or is this my gut trying to tell me something? And I think often it's hard to know the difference. One thing you might try is confiding in a trusted person in your life, maybe your therapist or your mom or a best friend. I mean, somebody who's neutral is probably the best move because your mom may not like your husband or whatever, or wife anyway. But like if you talk to your therapist and just talk about some of the things that are on your mind, they may be able to help give some clarity on like, hey, that's totally within the realm of normal and reasonable. Or, hey, yeah, sounds fishy and weird to me. So that's one way you can maybe assess whether it's anxiety and overthinking or there's really something going on. One way you may know your marriage is on its way out is if all of a sudden your partner puts a password on their phone. Here's the thing. Most of us have passwords on our phone all of the time for, a million different reasons. So the kids don't mess with it or whatever. But if your partner this whole time hasn't been a password on their phone, gal or guy, and all of a sudden you got to enter 20 numbers to get into the thing, you can ask yourself, why? Why do we do that all of a sudden? And again, like with all of these potential signs, there may be a completely legitimate reason. It may be because work installed some new security something and you have to do it now. Or it may be because there's a lot of stuff going on in that phone that they don't want you to know about. One way you may learn that your marriage is almost over may come to you through your nose. And what I mean is, if all of a sudden your beau starts wearing cologne or she starts wearing perfume and they basically haven't forever, what's that about? Or if all of a sudden she comes home smelling like some dude's cologne, or he comes home smelling like Chanel No. 5, you may say, is something else going on here? Each of these, there may be a completely legitimate reason. Like all of a sudden they decided they want to be a perfume person. But usually people don't change their behavior. We're human beings. We're creatures of habit. We keep doing what we've always done. So if all of a sudden your nose is telling you something's up, it may be. Probably the clearest way you'll know that your marriage is on its way out is if you're no longer your partner's go-to. And what I mean is, if all of a sudden you're not the person they confide in, that they ask business questions to, that they tell about the end of their day, and instead they got to go call their mom, call their bud, call this gal at work, whoever it is, why? If they're not turning to you for that relationship of trust and confidence anymore, and you're not their go-to, they're probably looking elsewhere to get their go-to. And look, I know that's hard. It's rough, but maybe if you can spot it in time, you can have a healthy conversation and express to your partner, hey, I'm feeling this way. You used to come to me with those questions. You used to share that stuff with me. What's happened? And allow the truth to come out. You may well save your marriage. And look, you may not love what they say. I understand. But at least if you know the truth, we can deal with the truth. What you can't deal with is this nebulous, fuzzy concept of, hey, they never talk to me anymore. That's one of the main reasons people get divorced in the first place. They'll tell me, we never talk anymore. And I don't want that to happen to you. So watch for this potential symptom whenever you first notice it, and communicate early and often, and you may be able to save your marriage. How do you know your marriage might be over? Well, when's the last time you had sex? And if my kids are watching this, please turn it off. But probably the top reason I hear from guys getting divorced is they haven't slept with their wife in some very long amount of time. Not like days or weeks, which is what probably ladies would be like, oh yeah, he'll come in there and say, and it's been a whole week or whatever. Not like that, but like months or years. And I hear from guys getting divorced who are brokenhearted, who've tried everything, and their wife isn't sleeping with them for like a year. If you haven't had sex in like months, your marriage is probably on its way out, or it's gonna be eventually. It's headed that direction if you don't do something. Look, there may be a million different reasons why that's happening. It could be a medical reason. It could be that you're not communicating otherwise, or that's all you want, or they're dealing with some postpartum stuff, or you just haven't reconnected in a while, right? To me, it's a symptom. The sex is not the root problem. It's the symptom of the root problem, which probably has something to do with really prioritizing the relationship, approaching the other person with kindness and care and respect, and putting in the effort to connect as a man and a wife, not just a mom and a dad with these kids, or not just as two people doing their job or whatever. But if you take those steps, usually, in my experience, it's more my personal than my professional, but like usually the sex part will handle itself. But if you're not having sex, your marriage may be on its way out. Another symptom that your marriage may be in trouble is if you feel like you can't approach your partner about things that are sticky or important to you. And what I mean is when you have that apprehension, like, I don't know, I'm feeling kind of nervous or weird about this girl at work, or this guy at the gym, or the fact that I'm not your go-to person anymore, or all of a sudden you started eating kale salads when you've only ever eaten steak. And if you feel like you can't bring those things up to your partner, your marriage may be in real trouble. Why not? This is supposed to be the person that you've committed till death do you part with, your partner through life. And you can't speak to them about what's inside your heart? Why? It may mean your marriage is in trouble. And if you can't do that because of who the other person is, then I would say, good. I'm glad your marriage is in trouble. If you can't speak to your partner about what's really going on inside your heart, your soul, and your mind, then what's the point? Why would you stay married to this person? Do you really want that example for your kids? Do you really want that for yourself? If your marriage is in trouble because you can't talk to your partner, then I say, good.